Another day into July. What's going on? Good to be with you all today. Coming off a Monday Night Raw, coming off a Forbidden Door weekend. Coming off my Reddit AMA yesterday. Hopefully you all enjoyed that. If you haven't checked it out, it's there somewhere. A lot of questions answered. And by the way, as I was doing that Reddit AMA, thank you to everybody who joined. Thanks to everybody who saw that AMA and is now with us here over at the WrestlingMatchShow.com. It's right above Todd. You can subscribe right there. A lot of questions jogged my memory. And if you joined me from the AMA and you're now here, welcome. Thank you for being with us. Thanks to everybody who is always with us. And thanks to those of you who are sharing, who are subscribing, who are commenting, who are liking, who are turning those notifications on. Because, yes, as Rob just said, it is right above Todd at the WrestlingMatchShow.com. You can subscribe. And some of those stories that I told yesterday kind of jogged my memory and gave me some ideas for some content that will be coming your way right here at the Wrestling Match Show. Past the 2,500 subscriber mark earlier today, so we appreciate that. And based on all that, I told you more would be coming. Guess what's coming your way? We're taking the next step. We're going to be providing exclusive content for members that join today. That is right. We'll be providing to members only live chats, live streams for various wrestling events. We might just say, hey, you're a member, you've signed up, you've paid your money, let's watch Raw, let's watch SmackDown, let's watch Dynamite in a very members-only stream. We could do that. Discounts on soon-to-be-released merchandise. That's right, it is coming your way. Private Zooms, the chance to choose a wrestling event to watch back with me. Yes, all of that is coming your way. There are 3 levels. Price is affordable for everybody, and those are starting at $2.99. Available right now. Check it out. Sign up at thewrestlingmatchshow.com. Hello, Phil. What's up to you? And by the way, for those of you, once again, who throw us a super chat, you move to the front of the line, you get featured on the show, and you get entered into our giveaway for the signed Double J, Jeff Jarrett, Bendy. Super chat gets you an entry into that giveaway. We will be giving that away on sometime later this week, but you can do super chats today and super chats tomorrow, and then we're closing it off. So super chats gets you into the giveaway for the signed Double J, Bendy. Jeff, of course, facing the wild card at Beach Break. Coming up this Wednesday on Dynamite is the last first-round matchup in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. So that is coming your way. Who wouldn't want a piece of Double J history? You can get that by sending us a super chat today or tomorrow. A little programming note, a couple things here. First of all, July 4th, there will be no show. Independence Day in America, so that is part of it. And next week, we will have very special topic-specific episodes in our normal 1 o'clock spot. I got a little Disney trip planned, so I'll be heading down there, but you won't miss anything. So we'll have special episodes of the Wrestling Mat, all brand new content, I promise you that, coming your way. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, all next week at 1 p.m. Eastern. So that's not changing, just that the content won't be the typical Raw review, Dynamite review, things like that. But signed, autographed, Double J, Bendy, yes, for those that are getting the super chats in here on our live show today at 1 p.m. Eastern. But yeah, no show on July 4th, and some special content coming your way next week. We're going to be doing a few different things. I'll be putting those together in the coming days. The best and worst Money in the Bank cash-ins, the most influential wrestling matches of the modern era, all of that coming your way. The biggest misses in WWE history, whether it be storylines or whether it be talent inside or outside the ring. All of that is coming your way in the next week right here at the WrestlingMatchShow.com. So make sure you subscribe right up there, right above Todd. Make sure you turn the notifications on. Make sure you comment. I'm commenting back on everything that you guys are saying, and there seems to be a lot of that out there. So happy to be interacting with everybody here in our great community. It is the most interactive wrestling community out there, and it will continue to be because of you. So, yes, make sure you take a look at those member tiers. We have multiple tiers there for you, starting at $2.99. So it's affordable. You get some extra perks along the way, and more will be added as we go along. So if you like watching things with us here, you'll have more opportunities to do that at thewrestlingmatchshow.com if you get part of our member tier. So go check that out at thewrestlingmatchshow.com. And we'll get into Monday Night Raw here. If any news drops, we'll touch it along the way. But Monday Night Raw, this seems to be somewhat of a staple now, right? With Jey Uso, you get the crowd hyped, you get the yeet, 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 yeet. He comes through the crowd. They have something there. They're sticking with it. And we know that Jay is in Money in the Bank. So I ask you guys this before we get to what happened with him and Chad Gable. And they will face off next week on Monday Night Raw. Is Jay the favorite? This goes back to the idea of what Money in the Bank is, what it needs to be, what it should be. Is it a babyface thing to win? Because what I'm wondering about, it doesn't feel like it has the same juice that it once did. You think about last year's Money in the Bank winners. Io Sky wins. I think her cash-in was done fairly well, but she's a heel, right? She cast in after that triple threat with Charlotte and Asuka and Bianca was champion for a matter of minutes, and then Io came in and won, and it really kind of set the tone going down the road to what we got with her and Bayley at WrestleMania. And a nice, long, strong title run for Io, who was still one of the best workers in the world. But that briefcase and what that briefcase means, and I was talking to somebody about this earlier today, it just feels like there's a lack of juice around the gimmick. You know, Damian Priest had it. And I feel like no matter who's been running the show, there's always been the tease. And you do it right away, and then it goes away for a while. And then it comes back. And they seem to want to do it right away so people remember it could happen tomorrow. And sometimes it's happened night of, and sometimes it's happened the night after. Think about Nikki Cross when she cashed in after winning Money in the Bank in 2021, or Nikki ASH as she were at the time. You know, think about Alexa cashing in on the night of. Kane cashed in on the night of. Sometimes it could be a booking albatross. God, we have a year with this thing. What do we do with it? Who's got it? Why do they have it? Is this somebody who's already been champ? That if they have it. See, I like the idea if they've already been champ and they have the briefcase, then that's more of a heel thing. Or that maybe is a situation where a babyface can call their shot. And I think when you look at the fields, Drew helped in a very big way last night. Absolutely he did. Drew helped that field. It made it feel bigger. But who do you put it on if you're with the men? We're going to do a full Money in the Bank preview show coming up on Friday. Who wins that briefcase? I mean, right now, it's very paint by numbers to say, well, look at everything that has gone on with Drew and Punk. Punk will cost Drew at Money in the Bank. It's happened before. It could happen again. But who do you put it on? Gable's interesting. Now, I asked you just now a few minutes ago, is Jey Uso the favorite for Money in the Bank? Right now, it's 50-50. I know there's obviously other options there to go with, but it's 50-50. And what would a Jay win look like? What would a Jay cash-in look like? Does that get him back involved with the bloodline? You know, is there the crossover idea with the Money in the Bank? Because I think that is something that needs to be explored a little bit more. You know, they have the brand split, right? And there's I don't want to say a hard brand split, but everybody's got their titles now. Cody, SmackDown, Priest, Raw, Liv, Bayley, Grayson in Theory, Judgment Day. You got all that stuff. Logan over here, Sammy over here. But the briefcase is tough because, like, Money in the Bank to me, there's some fun behind it and what's going to happen and who's going to cash it in. And you have put up the short the other day about RVD and the Ziggler cashing after Mania. Those are fun. Those are big ones. Then you have the Theory one from a couple years ago, which is just, believe me, that will be addressed in next week's content here on the WrestlingNetShow.com about some of the worst cash-ins of all time. And I thought that right there, in fact, not Theory's fault, just how he was booked. I thought the Theory one really hurt the gimmick of the prestige of Money in the Bank. Punk doing it twice, once as a baby face. You know, when Punk did it the first time, he wasn't there yet, right? And then Batista destroys Edge, and because he knew, all right, we're on different shows now. I can't win the world title. So Punk runs out, and the place goes nuts. And Punk's a mid-card guy at the time. Cashes in. He beats Edge. Place goes nuts. Beats JBL later in the night. Okay, we're on an upward trajectory. Didn't stay that way. And then when he wins it again, he cashes in on a down, beat-up Jeff Hardy, a babyface Jeff Hardy. You cash in on a babyface, you're a heel no matter what. That's kind of the thing right now with the briefcase. If a babyface cashes in on a babyface, the guy or the girl who's got the briefcase, they're a heel. If you do it on a heel, it's fine. But if it's the same, you're asking for trouble. Unless you want that. Maybe you want that. Think of when Edge cashed in. Think how long he took to cash in at New Year's Revolution, and Vince was there, and it was on scene. It was perfect. And then they had him lose 3 weeks later, which kind of killed his momentum, which he needed to pick back up again when he faced Foley at WrestleMania. It's not an easy thing to book, and I like the idea of it. Part of me wishes, and I get they like the unexpected nature of it, part of me wishes you did have to call your shot. And I'm not, like, at least a week in advance. Now, that can still be done out of nowhere and can be promoted accordingly. And the briefcase winner doesn't have to win. But you have the Corbin one or the Sandow one or the Braun one. The Braun one was a mess. Oof. What would a Jay cash-in look like to you guys? Currently, right now, as the poll continues, 67% of you think he's the favorite. Is there something more to Drew doing it and then Punk costing him? Because the only thing with Drew being in Money in the Bank to me is that it seems everybody's just going to be looking down the aisle. Every time he goes up that ladder, they're going to be looking down the aisle. Are the cameras set up there? Punk's got to run in from somewhere else if he's going to do it and knock that ladder over. I still think Punk's more of the heel, but Drew left him in a bloody heap, so what do I know? But how do you book it? J-Love likes Andrade to win it. Okay, but that's got to go somewhere. That's the whole thing with the briefcase. You can have the moment, and then what's next? Nikki ASH wins, right? Great moment. People are happy. Then what? Then they booked her like shit. She was surviving wins. Liv cashed in on Ronda. It worked on the night, right? If you're going to beat an unstoppable opponent and Ronda had barely lost, that's a way to do it. Then they booked Liv poorly at SummerSlam, and then they had her kind of like go all hardcore and lose after the Extreme Rules match, and that's kind of what her gimmick became. I do like, as someone just mentioned in the chat, when you win the G1, which we talked about a little yesterday, the G1 is the round-robin tournament that is done for New Japan. There's 2 blocks, it could be 10, it could be 12, it could be 14, and you get points for winning matches, and then the block winners face off, and then you get a briefcase that is your title match at Wrestle Kingdom, their WrestleMania, on January 4th. However, typically, you never go undefeated in the G1. So if you win the G1, whoever had beaten you along the way, 1 or 2 people, typically they get their shot at it. And if they beat you, then they take it. Doesn't happen, really. But, very much like when you win the Rumble. You don't really have anything to do till Mania. You kind of wait around. You're in a holding pattern unless you haven't picked the opponent yet or whatever, and they got to find stuff for you to do. And sometimes that title shot, Rey Mysterio and Randy. That title shot was defended. That's what the G1 is. There's time. The G1's, August. The title shot doesn't happen until January. And New Japan goes into the tag league and stuff like that in December anyway. But for WWE, you have the full year. I like the idea, and a couple of you brought it up, that the clock is running out. Carmella went down to the wire when she had it. What if somebody got taken out who had the briefcase? Now, that's happened before, but they rode around it, Ken Kennedy won the briefcase at Mania. got injured, got a bad diagnosis, whatever it was. Edge took it from him. Edge was the one that cashed that in. Otis having it, losing it to Miz. Miz cashing in on Drew. It can move around. Maybe that's where we're at this year. Is it getting rid of it quickly? Does Drew lose? Does Drew lose the briefcase to Punk? Is there that? They gotta be a little bit different about it, though. 58% of you think Jay is still the favorite to win Money in the Bank. Now, also, as we got into that, Chad Gable last night, he's out there at the beginning, and what happens? They go back and forth, blah, 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 blah. Sure, they're both in the match. They're just building up the match. And Wyatt introduction. So now that's 3 weeks in a row, Gable's dealing with the Wyatts. He's the only one. And look where he's looking around and he sees stuff and and then Nikki comes and he tries to escape and look, he's scared. And Nikki delivers another VHS tape. We will get to that. The New Day stuff, I love those guys. The New Day stuff at Karrion Kross is... I will tell you, there was... this is a little story, I guess. I was told that when Woods won King of the Ring, there was a discussion of turning him and Kofi heel. I don't know how far it went, but there was conversations about that. And I think Woods would be a tremendous heel. Once again, not breaking up the New Day. Just turning them to... Now, that was years ago. That's when Woods was King of the Ring. Didn't happen. And I know Kross is trying to get in their heads and break them up and all that. Also, the Kross psychological stuff happening right after the Wyatt stuff. It's like, hey, we have the Wyatts at home. Your psychological stuff is nowhere near as good. His whole natural born killers thing, that, and not New Jack. I'm saying the movie with Woody Harrelson. It just... It's so much lesser than the psychological stuff that we're seeing with the Wyatt Sicks, and we'll get to that. Rob said, are they using a new tape or recording over the old one? It depends if they get it back. You and I used to watch Nitros and Raws. We would just tape over the Nitro Raw channel flipping. I used to do it. Rob is in here. He's one of my friends. Growing up, we've been friends forever. And I would tape Raw, or I would tape me flipping back between Raw and Nitro when we were much younger, because he had to go home, and then we would come back the next day, and he would watch the last hour of me flipping back and forth between Raw and Nitro. And that, folks, is way before DVR. Also, you get the wrong tape in your house, you tape over it, and some weird stuff comes. Nah, you don't want to do that either. But people, that was a thing when you couldn't watch two shows at once. He had to come back over the next day and see me flipping back and forth between Raw and Nitro on the VHS tape. Oh, my goodness. What a time. I'm going to try and encapsulate all of this Judgment Day, love, drama, titles, all this into one. I'm coming around on the idea of it being Finn and Liv. I'm coming around on that idea. I'm also coming around the idea of Judgment Day going the way of Bloodline. Priest is going to go babyface with Rhea. Rest of them over here. Maybe you add somebody else. You add a big heater or somebody to the Judgment Day. The heel version with Finn and JD and Liv. I could see it. And where does Dom fall in all that? That's the weird thing. Where does Dom fall in all of it? Because you can't make him a babyface. Not sure. But they added the wrinkle in where while Liv defended the title successfully and the chair got involved in all that, she kind of cost Dom later on. So there is that. And Ray obviously is backing things up because it's LWO and all that. Once again, still didn't feel like the Women's World Championship was a very big deal. That's my whole thing. It just doesn't feel like a big deal. Not as big as it should. Also, Liv just has a Rhea shirt on, and I don't know why people would buy that. It doesn't feel... It's all right. It's literally just all right. But it doesn't feel like Liv would be cashed in on. I don't know. There's not a lot there. Seth and Damian have this back and forth as we get into this. They're trying to show and maybe test the waters a little bit of Priest going back babyface. And, they had the stip where if Seth wins, then Priest has to leave Judgment Day. And if Seth wins, or if Priest wins, then Seth can't get another title shot as long as Priest champ. Very forced, trying to heat this up. And, Finn got involved. And, he's sticking his nose where it doesn't belong. So is he? Or is Priest pretending like he isn't, and it's all a big Judgment Day game? Seth's too smart for that. He was in the friggin' Shield. He was in the Authority. They can show this. They can try to sell Seth on the fact that they're not working together and that there's strife in the Judgment Day. But that would kind of go against the Judgment Day. The only thing I'm thinking with that is maybe they're trying to they kind of realize that Priest is very much leveled out as a world champ. Maybe they feel like people would get behind him more if he were to be winning and taking care of business on his own. If he beats Seth clean, does Seth give him the respect handshake? Let's get that up as a poll. Would Damian Priest defeating Seth Rollins clean change your perception of Damian as a world? Would that make Damian as a world champion? If Damian beats Seth straight up one-on-one, considering Seth's resume, considering where he has sat on top of Monday Night Raw for quite some time, if Priest beats him clean, 1, 2, 3 at Money in the Bank, does that solidify? Does that put Priest on a better level? Some people think he's a good champ already, and that's fine. I just think there was too much other stuff going on in the company as a whole. Think about when he cashed in, right? That was already a backdrop to a title change. And a backdrop to Drew and Punk. He wasn't even the biggest story coming out of his title win. It was about Drew winning in front of fans and Punk costing him. Priest won. So far, you guys do not think, based on the poll, that it would make Damian, it would make him. He'd be a made man as a world champ. But I just think there's been too much other stuff going on. He wins at a WrestleMania early on night 2 when The Rock, and that was Cody's weekend. Everybody knows that was Cody's weekend. Not to say you're not going to have other big stuff going on. It's WrestleMania. Of course you do. But he wasn't even the main character in his own world title victory. Then you put him up against Jay, who was hot, and maybe they went too fast with that. And then he doesn't even defend the title on the next PLE. All the while, Rhea's out, Liv's in the mix, the stuff with Liv and Becky, the stuff with Liv and Dom. Priest has not been given the opportunity to be the main character of Monday Night Raw. He's the world champ. Perception goes a long way. I remember we asked this question. I think we did it on here. I did it on Busted Open. Swerve and Priest became champs for the first time at the same time, right? And I thought Swerve got off to a bad start. They had him wrestle, they didn't have him talk, and they had him talk on a Collision, and then he wrestled Claudio, and he wasn't closing shows, and he was in the middle of shows, and they've course corrected. And good companies, good bookers will do that. They course corrected with Swerve, and they made him a focal point. They had him close shows, the stuff with Will. He closed Forbidden Door. He won Forbidden Door. He won the main event of Forbidden Door in a hell of a match against a guy who, when the match was initially booked, was hotter than him. And Swerve, steadfast, booked better. Didn't love the tag. I said it going in on the go-home show. But they made him the focal point. He has no lack of confidence. He has had a chip on his shoulder for years, and look where it's gotten him. Swerve, as I talked about yesterday, and go back and watch that, archives right there, WrestlingMatchShow.com. Did all about Forbidden Door yesterday. Swerve got to the point he needed to get to officially on Sunday night. And he was set in that direction correctly. I don't think Priest has ever been set in the correct direction. There's been too many other distractions around him. There's been too many other things that have come across bigger than him. Drew and Punk. All the drama with Liv. The Wyatt Sicks. All that's... Hell, he goes over to Scotland. He wins. All everybody's talking about is CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. Again. So, now he heads into Money in the Bank with a big-time star in Seth Rollins, and it doesn't feel like there's a lot of story behind it. And once again, with Finn getting involved, it feels like it's more about that other stuff. I don't think they'll switch the title, although Seth versus Gunther sounds better than Damian versus Gunther to me. And I think Gunther has to, 100%, has to win the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam in his first opportunity. Has to. It just doesn't feel like it. 80% of you say that a win over Seth clean will not make Damian Priest, and that is very telling. Shout out to everybody watching right now. What's going on? You want to get your questions answered, move to the front of the line. Super chats are there for you, and get you entered to win the signed autograph, Double J, Jeff Jarrett, Bendy. So as we're going through the show, that'll move you up a little bit. Some people throwing out the idea of Finn and Priest. I could see that. Maybe it's a grudge match. That's post SummerSlam to me, unless Priest drops the title at Money in the Bank. That's interesting. Maybe. Perhaps. 75% of you. 75-25 in favor of no. And that is the final poll there. Dakota, Zoe, Ivy for the spot in the Money in the Bank. And now we're getting back to a little recycled damage control stuff. Because EO runs out. And then Isla runs out, and we're doing all that stuff out there. And there's a distraction, and that was the kind of stuff that was happening where Bayley was trying to help EO last year and all that, and then Dakota doesn't win and Zoe does. And I'm a little bummed. Hey, good for Zoe, congratulations, but Dakota Kai needs to get that moment. Needs to get that spot. Super popular. I'm a little surprised they're missing the boat on that. I'll tell you a little story. Beginning of this year, maybe, I was still at the company. I was doing the Twitch streams of Chef Reactions, which we watch shows right here on the WrestlingMatchShow.com. We've watched the first 2 Nitros. We'll have more coming in the coming weeks. But at the time, we had a little Tuesday afternoon show, nothing too big, and Chef and I will watch old stuff. And Chef wasn't available one week, so I called my good friend Dakota Kai, and I said, would you like to come on, and we'll watch some of your best moments. We watched her turning on Tegan and some stuff like that. We watched the street fight with her and Tegan in Portland where Raquel debuted. And heel Dakota's one thing. Baby, the human being, Charlie, is the best. There's a reason her Twitch streams are so popular. A fantastic human being and a hell of a career. And you know, if she wasn't a heel, she'd be beloved even that much more. She already is. Everybody, I think all of her fans know of what she's like. That's her job. She's in Damage Control. She's a heel. She does it well. She's changed her game. She's upped her game. But I had her on that Twitch stream, and the numbers were ridiculous. And I had, even though I had pitched this a lot of just, hey, you know, there could be something to this. Yeah, just do that Twitch over there. Okay. As soon as it was like the next day, it was like, man, Dakota did great numbers. We really got to think about getting talent on more often. No shit. We should simulcast that on YouTube. No shit. People of Dakota Kai, get the fuck out of here. And her TikToks, all her, like, she's super popular, especially on social media. Maybe this is going there. Maybe, you know, there seems, she tweeted something about it, you know, like she put a little hourglass up. Maybe that will be the end of Damage Control. And it may have run its course. I don't know. But there's a baby face running Dakota Kai. She is beloved. You find someone to say something bad about Dakota Kai, and I will call that person a liar. Look, if she didn't get any money in the bank because it's a part of a bigger story that she's going to turn, then I will admit being wrong. But Dakota Kai is very popular, very likable. She looks cool as hell. Nobody looks like her. Nobody dresses like her. There needs to be the Dakota Nation, whatever the hell you want to call it, the Charlie crew. Back that up. Back her up. Let's make it happen. Shout out to the BRE. Okay. Now we get back to Wyatt Sicks. And the tape is yet another interview of the same person talking to himself. Because that's exactly what this is. And I'm not saying anything crazy. I think everybody knows that. Bo, Taylor, whatever you want to call them. People know that person right there. Tom, can you put that up again? That picture of Bo. In WWE canon, in story, that's Bo Dallas. That's Bo Leave. That's B-Team. That's Bo Dallas. Whether you want to call him Bo or you want to call him Taylor, it's the same idea. It's the brother of Bray Wyatt. It's the brother of Wyndham Rotunda. And talking to him the whole time is Uncle Howdy. He's talking to himself. And they go back and forth with that and talking about his brother. And they get into the family conversation. And I love that because now, and you have to be careful with this because I think this is where some of the older Wyatt stuff lost people. Drag it out too far. I thought the intentions of the Wyatt Sicks were zeroed in on last night. More so than, quicker than you'd expect. And I know some of people mentioned like some of the stuff had popped up in the QR codes and all that. That's a lot to follow. It is a lot to follow. It's cool they do it, but I'm really happy when people summarize that shit on Reddit. I really do appreciate that. And that's fine. Because there will be people that do that. There will be people that were into the lore. They were into the lore of Bray. They were into the lore of The Fiend. They're into the lore of this and Uncle Howdy and all that. That's great. But you do, like, you know, here's the thing. At the beginning of last year, when Bray was doing the stuff, and we saw Howdy and he was feuding with LA Knight, but he had come out as himself a couple of times. He came out as the human being. Not the character. He was the character of Bray Wyatt, but he was in jeans and a black shirt. And he cut that promo on SmackDown. And yeah, he looked different in the Lights Out match. We didn't really see him in anything else. They had some street fights him in LA Knight on non-televised events. But they were exploring that what's in here versus what people see and the differences of that. It's all the same person. And then, they had that thing where Howdy and Bray took out the Hit Row, and they were baby faces, but it was psychological. And they've really kind of gotten back to that. I don't want to say continuation, but same kind of philosophy of what that all is. So when Bray came out and cut that promo and came out as himself, and then last night and the night before and the week before, you see Bo or Taylor or whatever you want to call him talking to Uncle Howdy. It was the psychological. It's as supernatural as it gets, right? Somebody mentioned, it was Cactus Jack talking to. It was Dude Love talking to Mankind, talking to Cactus, all that. That's as supernatural as it gets. It's still television. It's still entertainment. But it's not like Uncle Howdy has these special powers that they're going to win matches and they're going to be unstoppable. At least they shouldn't. And they're having the conversation. And Bo, Taylor, whatever, is talking about, families, and there's people here that are. And he was very generic, but talking about people, going against their families. And Howdy's like, why do you have to be the one to stop that? And all of a sudden, the two of them started to come together. And the two of them started to become one because we know they are one. And the stuff with Chad Gable started to make sense. And maybe it did already. And I know people put those pieces together. But it was very much like, look what he's doing to his family. Is that going on anywhere else right now? Is that going on in Judgment Day? Is that going on with the Bloodline? Hell, is that going on with what New Day's doing with Karrion Kross, whether you like it or not? There's little morsels that have been dropped, which is so not professional wrestling. Wrestling is whatever. Wrestling is this right here, okay? Take her out for a second. Wrestling is Razor Ramon didn't like that he lost to 1-2-3 Kid. He was upset by that. So he put up $10,000, and then Kid beat him. And then he was mad. And that's a storyline. And that's a good storyline. And it introduced 1-2-3 Kid as a credible superstar. But it was about just those two. Now, after that, you got Razor being a babyface because $1 Million Man laughed at him and all that kind of stuff. And they became buddies. But for the most part, it was confined to this right here. With the Wyatts, Wyatt Sicks, they can get involved in a little bit of something over here. 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 Because there is a thread that connects it, that family connection. And they are, to me, they're baby faces until they go after a heel. And theoretically, heels are going to be the ones that break up their groups, their families, whatever. All the stuff I just mentioned is around heels. And it's almost like the Wyatt Sicks can be the conscience, the chaotic conscience of WWE. J Love Sports, thank you very much for the super chat. Have fun at Disneyland. How often would you have the Wyatt Sicks wrestle? I'd only have them wrestle at major PLEs. I'll tell you what, I don't think we need to get close to them wrestling at all. Think about this. And once again, appreciate the super chat. You are now entered to win the signed Jeff Jarrett Bendy. Super chats that come up today and up to tomorrow will be entered to win that. So thank you, J Love Sports. Really appreciate that. Very good question. Since their debut, haven't seen the other three members. Whatever Rowan is, whatever Loomis is, whatever Joe Gacy, haven't seen them. Haven't seen anybody else. Six. Which one is it? Is there a sixth? Are we waiting for Alexa Bliss? Is Six the spirit of Bray Wyatt? Don't know. But I don't think there's any rush for them to wrestle. I don't care. I'll tell you a good story about why matches don't necessarily matter and characters matter more. And I might have told the story, but I'll tell it again. I got hired by Tommy Dreamer to become the play-by-play guy for House of Hardcore. And my first two shows were right after WrestleMania in Orlando when the Hardys came back and won the ladder match to win the Raw Tag Team titles. So I knew Matt and Jeff were booked on the both of the shows. There was a show in Central Jersey and there was a show at the ECW Arena in Philadelphia. And this was maybe, I don't know, a month after Mania, a few weeks after Mania. And they had, it was a big surprise. If you remember, if you don't, go back to that Mania, the Hardys wrestle indies. Like they're doing stuff. They were supposed to do more with the Young Bucks. They showed up at Ring of Honor and they're going to take it to TNA. Well, Broken Matt got real hot. Jeff was with him. WWE wanted him. They got him. So they appear at like the Evolve Tailgate show WrestleMania morning as a ruse. And then they show up and the New Day come out and they introduce the Hardys. It's one of the biggest pops of WrestleMania of all time and they win. They still have indie dates on the schedule. So I think it was the following weekend or the weekend after, they make their date, but they can't work. They can't wrestle. They're signed. Not going to go get hurt at an indie show if you're signed. And I remember seeing that and going, uh-oh. They're not going to be able to work the House of Hardcore shows. But remember, at the time, it's Broken Matt Hardy. The Broken Matt Hardy stuff was not about getting between those three ropes and having matches. It was about the gimmick. It was about Vanguard. It was about, the whole Hardyverse and all that, and going to the house and the compound and the cinematic match. That's what that was. So he's still booked for House of Hardcore. It's my first weekend. And he's in this main event, and they have to work around the fact that he can't take bumps. He can't do anything because it was part of his WWE contract. And here's what I remember, though. Two things. Number one, all people wanted out of Matt Hardy in that rec center in central New Jersey was to meet Matt Hardy as Broken Matt with the full gimmick and the Raw Tag Team title. Jeff was not booked on that show. And a lot of people paid money to do just that. And then they did a schmaz and they got him out of the main event. And I remember it was getting written up because we were on Flow Slam or Twitch at the time. Oh, they bait and switched and whatever and blah, blah, blah. Everybody's pissed off. The people in that crowd were not that mad because they got to meet Matt Hardy. So the next night, we're at the ECW Arena. And Tommy knows he can't book Matt and Jeff in a match. And it's a smart crowd, and they sold out the ECW Arena, and there was a convention there. And Tommy knows he's got to, the key is he's got to still deliver. But he also knows that smart crowd knows that the Hardys can't wrestle. So he makes a call, and he's got the Young Bucks booked to wrestle him and Bubba as a surprise. And either Matt or Nick get food poisoning. They worked PWG the night before. They can't make the trip. Tommy is out of a main event. Screwed. So he reaches out to the powers that be at WWE at the time. Mark Carrano was running talent relations. Carrano kind of blows him off. Tommy tries again, puts Vince and Hunter on the email. Gets contacted by Hunter. What's up, man? I don't have a main event. I'm trying to play by the rules. Okay. What are you doing? What's the match look like? And Tommy explained it to him. Okay, if they're safe, go for it. So Tommy comes out at the beginning of the show, knowing he has the Hardys now. People don't think he's going to have the Hardys. Enough people. And he goes, I got to make an announcement and stay at a House of Hardcore address, and we'll do that. I know you guys know what happened, and people are, but he offers no refunds. So him and Bubba come out, and the Spirit Squad come out, and it looks like they're going to wrestle the Spirit Squad, and Matt and Jeff come out, and they clear the ring, and Broken Matt to Meek Mahan, kind of rips him a little, and they have the match. And if you go back and watch the match, I think Jeff hit the Swanton. It was the only bump taken in the entire match. And that place was electric. And that was the night, my second night getting paid on the independent wrestling scene. I learned a lot. That crowd did not give a damn about Bubba, Tommy, and the Hardys having a 15-minute classic. They were there to see the Hardys. They got to meet them. They got to see them. They got to see Broken Matt, who was on their TVs and taking the wrestling world by storm. Everybody did their spots. Nobody got hurt. It was as safe of a match as it got. And you know who took all the bumps? The Spirit Squad when they ran back out, because those guys were pros. And that's why Kenny Dykstra is working backstage at WWE right now, because he got it and they got it. And that crowd went home happy because they got to see the hottest gimmick in wrestling. And then the Hardys were back on Raw. That had nothing to do with the matches. That was about giving the fans the experience of what that gimmick was. Nobody's going back and going, remember that Broken Matt Hardy match he had against blah, blah, blah. And no, you remember the compound stuff. You remember the Lake of Reincarnation. Vanguard 1 and, what's her name's dad? With the lawnmower, the mower of lawns. Oh, I'm blanking on it. Someone's going to say it. Senor Benjamin, thank you. I got it. When they went there for AEW and Stokely got beat up by all the kids. That was great. It's a gimmick. It's not about the match. It's about the character. You can go watch Swerve and Ospreay for a hell of a match and a hell of a story. You're going to watch, take your pick of matches that went down last night. A lot of them had Gaga, though. Gimmicks go a far enough way. That's what the Wyatts are. I don't even know what a match will look like with them. But I know everybody's talking about them right now, maybe more than anything else. So there's no rush to getting them going. Chad tried to play to Otis, saw Alpha Academy come in. They have spooked Chad. Now, is he playing that up? We will see. Speaking of Chad, did see that both Creeds are getting announced for Bloodsport, or were announced for Bloodsport. Probably a good spot for them to go check out. Oh, Ray and Dominic gets announced with, no real build. I know they've been mixing it up. I was like, wow, they're just going to do this on Raw. And, perhaps Liv, where do her eyes lie as it relates to the Judgment Day? We don't know. But kind of thrown, that was very much thrown onto the show. Good promo segment with Sammy and Braun Breaker. I like that a lot. Nice to see, man, Braun going into the stairs. Whew. Listen, I know he got back up and he battled and he hit the spear. That still hurts like hell. Credit to him. That was good. Oh, J-Love, presented by Modelo. That's fine. If you're going to present it by Modelo, then announce it. Plug it more. I get that, but it's Ray versus Dom. It's not a random match. But the Sammy Braun stuff was very good. Braun standing tall. If I had to guess, I'm going to go back to when Athena beat Shayna the first time they faced off the NXT Women's Championship. Just did a reversal, was 3 seconds better, was not the better wrestler that night. Shayna ended up winning that title. I could see that happening. Sammy just outsmarting Braun just enough to be better than 3. Just enough to be better than him. Just 3 seconds better. That's all it's got to be. That makes a lot of sense. And then our main event with Sheamus and Drew and Ilya. I hope we see some combinations of this stuff again, but Drew's in. And good promo going out the door. Drew is in Money in the Bank. Is it too easy to have Punk mess with Drew on Saturday? Does that sell the injury for long enough? The blood and everything he did. Typically, it's been very rare to see someone sell a beatdown for more than maybe 2 weeks. But man, Punk looked like a lifeless body in Chicago a couple weeks ago. I do kind of like the idea of Drew winning the briefcase. And then Punk can mess with it later. Whether he wins it for him or he costs the cash in. What if Punk, and I'll get to this in deeper detail on Friday, what if Punk doesn't get involved with Drew winning the briefcase. And we're all waiting for it to happen. But he screws up the cash-in instead, especially if they go to the cash-in quickly. Cam, you bring up the idea of Drew cashing in and Punk helping him. I had a similar thought of what if Punk, his presence in Scotland, while he doesn't do anything, maybe was enough to take Priest off his game. What are you doing here? I don't need your help. And then Drew wins, and then Punk goes, you needed me. You needed me. I was still the biggest moment of your career, and I was still standing right there. You'll never erase me from being right there for the biggest moment of your career. I don't see Punk helping Drew, but maybe not getting in his way, but then screwing him. What are the motivations of CM Punk? Does he want to be the world heavyweight champion? I liked what MJF said on Busted Open the other day. I'm not going after the world title right now. I got other things to deal with. I got other people to deal with. Swerve's pretty damn good. I don't like what he's doing, but he's good. I don't agree with him a lot of stuff. Showing respect to Swerve. Not being scared of Swerve. Just saying it's not the time. And I like that coming from a guy like MJF because it means that he's thinking about it. He's picking his spot. He's not just running headfirst into it. And that's him on a radio show that's not on AEW programming, finding the gray area. He's always pretty good at those interviews. He can weave in and out of being MJF the character and Max the human being. I liked that he addressed, and by the way, was still watching that match at the end of Forbidden Door. But it doesn't sound like he's there yet. Perhaps it's because he's going to be facing Will Ospreay at All In. We're not there yet. We'll see. We'll talk more about that later in the week. Friday is going to be a big episode because Friday we're going to go back over Dynamite. We're not doing a July 4th show. Enjoy your holiday for those who celebrate. For those who don't, it's just July 4th. And enjoy your Thursday. But Friday is Money in the Bank preview and Dynamite review. So we'll have a lot of stuff to talk about there. J-Love says Punk and Drew have to main event SummerSlam if Drew gets screwed by Punk again. Yeah, that's the thing. If Drew and Punk is on SummerSlam, that probably outweighs the world title match. That probably outweighs almost anything else depending on what they do with Cody. If it's Cody solo. All right, I'll ask this. If Drew and Punk gets on SummerSlam, let's say no title, and Cody solo is also on SummerSlam for the WWE title, what's the main event? What's the main event, and what's the bigger match? Because I keep saying, I want Randy and Cody, but if they go Cody and solo, you put that out there with the thought, I mean, how would you not think that Rock or Roman would come back for that? Or at least the thought of that possibly happening. What's a bigger match? To me, it's Drew and Punk. It's just about those two. Rob says Cody opens, Punk closes. The only thing with, if you do Cody solo to open, that probably is a big story. Does Cody just beat Solo? Do you run a big angle to open the show? Something to think about. Cam says, old school wrestling brain, it has to be Punk Drew. It is the biggest story with the biggest build. But if Roman or Rock returns, I guess Cody. That's the thing. Cody's not losing. I agree. But is that it? If you do Cody solo at SummerSlam, is that it? Cody just beats him and nothing else happens? Money in the Bank will be very... I would think we'll either know. I think we'll know by, not this Friday, by next Friday, whether it's Cody Solo or Cody Randy. If Solo pins Cody, it's a lock. But if not, and there's a miscommunication with Randy and Cody, and like, as long as if Cody doesn't get pinned at Money in the Bank, then Randy stays on the table. But Drew Punk feels huge with or without a title. But we're not there yet. Coming up tomorrow, though. Tomorrow is Wednesday. We'll break down NXT. Maybe get another one of those stories. I'm going to go take a look at that Reddit AMA I did, and you guys can go look at it as well. There's definitely some things I answered that have deeper stories to them. I'll bring one of those out tomorrow. That'll be a part of the show as well. We'll definitely do that. Now, once again, we are taking the next step here at the Wrestling Mat, at thewrestlingmatshow.com. We're going to be providing exclusive content for members that join today. We'll be providing members with members-only live chats. So you can ask anything you want to me. Live streams for various wrestling events. Maybe we're going to go, hey, for our members that have paid, I'm going live just for you guys for Raw or SmackDown or a pay-per-view or a Dynamite or whatever. We're going to have some merch coming out soon. You'll get discounts on that. Private Zooms with me. And the chance to watch back a wrestling event of your choice with me. If we get 15 people signed up for the memberships, we will do a special Q&A episode that will air on here with just the members' questions. Special privileges when you sign up. You don't want to miss what we have coming up. Make sure I don't miss anything that I have here. 3 levels, very affordable, starting at $2.99. Go check it out at thewrestlingmatshow.com. It's right here. We'll post a link up here on the YouTube once again. You won't want to miss a thing. Turn the notifications on. Hit that bell. That's the notifications. Make sure you comment. You're getting answers back from me. We're with you every single weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern. And once again, July 1st, we're taking off. July 4th, we're taking off. Next week, I'm going to have a whole week of special content because I will be away with family, enjoying my time with them. But we will have a bunch of content ready to go for you at the 1 o'clock time slot each and every day next week. You can sign up today at thewrestlingmatshow.com. You can subscribe there as well. Please do so. And remember, Super Chats. One more day of those. You get those in there. We got one today. Shout out to J-Love. You are entered for the giveaway for the Jeff Jarrett signed Bendy. Super Chat will get you an entry to that and send you to the front of the line here as we feature your comment and talk about it right here on the Wrestling Mat. Please subscribe. Make sure you follow us on social media. Wrestling Mat 23 is where you can do that. Send us your questions, your comments, your thoughts. Certainly appreciate everybody getting us over 2,500 plus in a very short period of time. There is the link right there. You can sign up for the membership. Multiple tiers starting at $2.99. Looking forward to interacting with you guys even more. A lot of content coming your way. Best and worst Money in the Bank cash-ins, the most influential matches of the modern era, the biggest misses, storyline, or talent in WWE history, and so much more coming your way. That's all coming your way next week. Sign up for those memberships starting at $2.99 at thewrestlingmatshow.com or the link that just went up there in our YouTube chat. Thank you all for watching. I will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll be talking about wrestling even more. See you then, right here on the Wrestling Mat.